Handbook for Mankind, page number 80. Insight by the Nature Method. 7. In this chapter, we shall see how concentration may come about naturally on the one hand, and as a result of organized practice on the other. The end result is identical in the two cases. The mind is concentrated and fit to be used for carrying out close introspection. One thing must be noticed, however, the intensity of concentration that comes about naturally is usually sufficient and appropriate for introspection and insight, whereas the concentration resulting from organized training is usually excessive, more than can be made use of. Furthermore, misguided satisfaction without highly developed concentration may result while the mind is fully concentrated. It is likely to be experiencing such a satisfying kind of bliss and well-being that the meditator may become attached to it or imagine it to be the fruit of part natural occurring concentration, which is sufficient and suitable for use in introspection, is harmless, having none of the disadvantages inherent in concentration developed by means of intensive training. In the Tapitaka, there are numerous references to people attaining naturally all states of part and fruit. This generally came about in the presence of the Buddha himself, but also happened later with other teachers. These people did not go into the forest and sit assiduously practicing concentration on certain objects in the way described later manuals. But everyone clearly knows organized effort was involved when arahantship was attained by the first 5 discourse of the Buddha on hearing the discourse on non-selfhood, or by the 1,000 hermits on hearing the fire simon. In these cases, keen, penetrating insight came about quite naturally. This example clearly showed that natural concentration is liable to develop of its own accord while one is attempting to understand clearly some question, and that the resulting insight, as long as it is firmly established, must be quite intense and stable. It happens naturally, automatically, in just the same way as the mind becomes concentrated the moment we set about doing arithmetic. Likewise, in firing a gun, when we take aim, the mind automatically becomes concentrated and steady. This is how naturally occurring concentration comes about. We normally overlook it completely because it does not appear the least bit magical, miraculous, or inspiring. It will be inspiring, but through the power of just this naturally occurring concentration, most of us could actually attain liberation. We could attain the further part, nirvana, arahantship, just by means of natural concentration. So don't overlook this naturally occurring concentration. It is something most of us either already have or can readily develop. We have to do everything we can to cultivate and develop it, to make it function perfectly and yield the appropriate results, just as did most of the people who succeeded in becoming arahants, none of whom knew anything of modern concentration techniques. Page number 82. Now, let us have a look at the nature of the states of inner awareness, reading up to full insight into the world, that is, into the five aggregates. The first stage is joy, piti, mental happiness, or spiritual well-being. Doing good in some way. Even giving alms, consider the most basic form of merit making, can be a sort of joy, highly up at the level of morality, completely blameless conduct by way of an action brings an increase in joy. Then, in the case of concentration, we discover that there is a definite kind of delight associated with the lower stages of concentration. This rapture has in itself the power to induce tranquility. Normally, the mind is quite unrestrained, continually falling slave to all sorts of thoughts and feelings associated with anticipating things outside. It is normally restless, not calm, but as spiritual becomes a bit calm and steadiness and bound to increase in proportion. When steadiness has been perfected, the result is full concentration. The mind becomes tranquil, steady, flexible, manageable, like and at ease, ready to be used for any desired purpose, in particular for the elimination of the defilements. It is not a case of the mind's being rendered silent, hard, and rock-like. Nothing like that happens at all. The body feels normal, but the mind is especially calm and suitable for use in thinking and introspection. It is perfectly clear. Page number 83. Perfectly clear. Perfectly clear. Perfectly cool. Perfectly still and restrained. In other words, it is fit for work, ready to know. This is the degree of concentration to be aimed for, not the very deep concentration where one sits rigidly like a stone image, quite devoid of awareness, sitting in a deep concentration like that. One is in no position to investigate anything. A deeply concentrated mind cannot practice introspection at all. It is in the state of unawareness and is of no use for insight. Deep concentration is a major obstacle to insight practice. To practice introspection, one must first return to the shallower levels of concentration. Then one can make use of the power of the mind has acquired. Highly developed concentration is just a method. So it's just a tool. In this developing of insight by the nature method, we don't have to attain deep concentration and sit with the body with it. Rather, we aim at a calm, steady mind, one so fit for work that when it is applied to insight practice, it gains right understanding with regard to the entire world. Insight so developed is natural insight, the same sort as was gained by some individuals while sitting listening to the Buddha expounding Dharma. It is conducive to thought and introspection of right kind, the kind that brings understanding, and it involves neither ceremony, procedures, nor miracles. This doesn't mean, however, that insight will arise instantaneously. One can't be an arahant straight off. The first step in knowledge may come about at any time, depending once again on the intensifying of the concentration. Page number 84. It may happen that what arises is not true insight because one has been practicing wrongly or has been started by too many false views. But however it turns out, the insight that thus arises bound to be something quite special. For instance, extraordinarily clear and profound. If the knowledge gained is right knowledge, corresponding with reality, corresponding with Dharma, then it will progress, developing ultimately into right and true knowledge of all phenomena. If insight develops in only small measure, it may convert a person into an arahant at the lower stage, or if it is not sufficient to do that, it will just make him a high-minded individual, an ordinary person of good qualities. If the environment is suitable and good qualities have been properly and adequately established, it is possible to become an arahant It all depends on the circumstances. But however far things go, as long as the mind has natural concentration, this factor called insight, this entice is bound to arise and to correspond more or less with reality. Because we being Buddhist, heard about, thought about, and studied the world. The five aggregates and phenomena in the hope of coming to understand their true nature. It follows that the knowledge we acquire while in a calm and concentrated state will not be in any way misleading. It is bound to be always beneficial. The expression insight into the true nature of things refers to seeing conscience, unsatisfactoriness, and non-selfhood, seeing that nothing is worth getting, nothing is worth being, seeing that no object whatsoever. Page number 85 should be grasped at clue to as being self or as belonging to a self, as being good or bad, attractive or repulsive, liking or disliking anything, even if it is only an idea or a memory, is screaming to say that nothing is worth getting or being is the same as to say that nothing is worth clinging to. Getting refers to setting one's heart on property, position, wealth, or any pleasing object. Being refers to the awareness of one's status as husband, wife, rich man, poor man, winner, loser, or human being, or even the awareness of being oneself. If we really look deeply at it, even being oneself is no fun, is very so, because it is a sort of suffering. If one can deeply give up clinging to the idea of being oneself, then being oneself will no longer be suffering. This is what is to see the worthlessness of being anything, and just the gist of the statement that being anything, no matter what, is bound to be suffering in a way appropriate to that particular state of being. Any state of being, if it is to continue as such, has to be made to last, to endure. At the very least, it must endure in one's mind in the form of a belief in that particular state of being. When there exists oneself, there are bound to exist things which are other than that self and belong to it. Thus, one has one's children, one's wife, one's this, that, and the other. Then one has one's duty as husband or wife, master or servant, and so on. All this points to the truth of the statement that there is no state of being such that to maintain it will not involve struggle. The trouble and struggle necessary to maintain one state of being are simply the result of blind infatuation with things. Until page number 85. Have a wonderful day, all the time. Bye bye. To the next car, with the sea. またね。元気ですか